Assalomu alaykum. Hurmatli hamkasbalar, mehmonlar, уважаемые участники сегодняшнего заседания отраслевой рабочей группы, дамы и господа. Прежде всего, позвольте от имени Министерства водного хозяйства Республики Узбекистан искренне приветствовать всех вас и выразить благодарность за участие в данном мероприятии. Наше заседание проводится накануне двух знаменательных праздников. Всего лишь через несколько дней, 21 марта, мы будем отмечать Навруз, праздник прихода весны и обновления природы. А также 22 марта, особенно важный для нас, водников, день, Всемирный день водных ресурсов. Пользуясь предоставленной возможностью, хочу поздравить всех присутствующих наступающими праздниками и сердечно пожелать вам и вашим близким крепкого здоровья. Извиняюсь, да, технически. Перевод. Теперь слышно? Перевод идет? Все нормально, да? Уважаемые коллеги, извиняемся за технические неполадки, так как это первое заседание. Надеюсь, вы все поймете и простите. Еще раз представленной возможностью хочу поздравить всех присутствующих наступающими праздниками и сердечно пожелать вам и вашим близким крепкого здоровья, счастья, мира и процветания, а также успехов в вашей деятельности. Кроме того, так как сегодня с нами присутствуют наши партнеры, доноры и партнеры по развитию, хочу выразить искреннюю благодарность за многолетнее сотрудничество и действительную помощь, оказанную Республике Узбекистан для ускорения реформ и развития приоритетных направлений в сфере водного хозяйства. Особую благодарность я хочу выразить моему другу и коллеге госпоже Ракель Бош и ее команде за поддержку, продолжающую поддержку нашего министерства. И данное мероприятие тоже поддерживается нашими коллегами. И нам очень радостно работать с вами в тесном кругу. И надеюсь, сегодняшняя встреча еще раз даст возможность сблизиться, поговорить по душам, а также разработать конкретные мероприятия для будущего сотрудничества. Уважаемые коллеги, Узбекистан, имеющий самую обширную оросяемую площадь и самое большое население в регионе, является наиболее уязвимым в плане обеспечения водными ресурсами. Только около 20% от потребностей страны в водных ресурсах формируется внутри страны. Нарастающий из года в год дефицит водных ресурсов, связанный с изменением климата, ростом численности населения и потребности в воде, является одним из лимитирующих факторов развития экономики Узбекистана. Уже сегодня страна сталкивается с недостатками воды, загрязнением и истощением водных источников. Ключевыми проблемами среди прочего является изношенность гидротехнических сооружений, низкий КПД межхозяйственных и внутрихозяйственных оросительной сети, а также большие потери воды, низкий уровень использования водосберегающих технологий. недостаточный потенциал водохозяйственной организации и ухудшение мелиоративного состояния оросяемых земель. И можем сказать открыто, что нерациональное использование трансграничных водных ресурсов. Вызовы, стоящие перед водным хозяйством Узбекистана, требуют выработки и реализации кардинально новых идей и путей дальнейшего развития сектора, направленных на обеспечение гарантированного водоснабжения населения, отраслей экономики и улучшение качества воды и сохранение, конечно, экологического баланса окружающей среды. С учетом данной ситуации и вышеуказанных проблем, последние годы в Узбекистане уже реализуются последовательные реформы по эффективному использованию земельных и водных ресурсов, совершенствование системы управления водными ресурсами, модернизация и развитие объектов водного хозяйства. Уважаемые участники заседания, как вам известно, 27 января 2023 года проведено первое заседание страновой платформы, совместно организованной Агентством стратегических реформ при президенте Республики Узбекистан и Всемирным банком, исполняющим функции секретариата страновой платформы. По итогам заседания создано 12 отраслевых рабочих групп, в том числе отраслевая рабочая группа по водным ресурсам, водоснабжению и водоотведению. Сегодня мы собрались здесь, чтобы провести первое заседание отраслевой рабочей группы по водным ресурсам, водоснабжению и водоотведению и обсудить дальнейшие совместные действия для достижения целей, обозначенных в стратегии развития нового Узбекистана на 2022-2026 годы. Любезно наши коллеги, госпожой Ракель Бош, по электронной почте уже было переслано проект нашего годового плана, и сегодня мы еще раз с вами хотим обсудить те мероприятия, которые отражены в данном документе, и получить ваши отзывы, а также ваши предложения. Мы сегодня, вниманию будет представлен предварительно разработанный проект плана работ, а также конкретные мероприятия и ожидаемые результаты. Будем очень признательны за ваши ценные комментарии по данному документу, что позволит нам доработать его и представить окончательный вариант в секретариат страновой платформы. Уважаемые участники, надеюсь, что первое заседание отраслевой рабочей группы по водным ресурсам, водоснабжению и водоотведению будет содействовать выработке общего понимания и приоритетов и стратегий в указанной сфере и поможет мобилизовать международный опыт и ресурсы для разработки и реализации соответствующих программ и проектов по устойчивому развитию водного хозяйства Республики Узбекистан. Пользуясь предоставленной возможностью, позвольте еще раз выразить благодарность международным организациям и финансовым институтам, донорам, а также нашим коллегам по другим министерствам, ведомствам и всем нашим партнерам по развитию за содействие и неустанную поддержку в реализации проектов в сфере водного хозяйства и пожелать плодотворной совместной работы. Благодарю за внимание. Теперь, если разрешите, параллельно мы коллегами госпожей Ракель Бош и господином Рустамом Мамаджановым будем модерировать. И мы следующее слово хотел бы представить госпоже Ракель Бош. Пожалуйста, Ракель.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister Azim Nazarov. Thank you very much, Rustam. I think, dear colleagues, this is a bit a historical moment of sector coordination, as we have the two responsible governmental agencies for the water for irrigation, water for food, as we used to call it, and water for drinking together. today, and also all of us. So thank you very much for taking your time. Thank you very much for these opening remarks. Let me just add to those in a spirit of setting the scene. So as you have mentioned, dear Azim, that according to the decision of the new structure of the overall country platform coordination, there will be one single sector coordination group on water management, water supply, and sanitation. This was decided upon end of January. And it was, as we understand, but we have here, of course, also the Agency for Strategic Reforms represented. We understand it as a strong push in the context of the reshufflement of the government to enhance our coordination with a view at making sure that the Uzbek strategy for the development of your country will really become reality in the years to come. So having said that, of course, we were a bit puzzled, I'm very honest. and then get the broad understanding and agreement by the group so that we feel all responsible. And thank you to the agency that you have accepted this approach. So we have submitted a draft, and one of the key objectives of today's first joint sector working group is that we have a discussion. And again, it's not a written agreement. It's coordination. It's not the contract for a project. And I would like to finalize my welcome remarks by saying thank you. We feel, of course, honored that we have this role to support in the coordinating role working in the sector in both dimensions for 20 years. And we are happy to have a modest facilitating role. We hope that this helps. And for us, it's very important that we have also that we adhere to the globally agreed principles for good and more effective development cooperation. One, I think it's the first principle we have there agreed upon is government needs to be in the driving seat. So you should not be donor-driven, but bring the involved government agencies together and lead the process supported by us. Thank you very much for the trust.
Katta rahmat Bo'sh xonim, siz bildirgan mana shu munosabatingiz uchun va bu yerda bizlar ham rejalashtirayotganimizda bizlar ham o'ylayotgandik qanday qilib mana bizlar o'tkazamiz mana shu davra suhbatimizni deb, keyin esa bizlar o'ylab ko'rdikki baribir vazirlik va davlat idoralari sifatida bizlar o'zimizni barcha bor kuch g'ayratimizni baholi qudrat ishga solamiz degan bir qarorga keldik va bunda bizlar albatta barcha qaror qilgan narsamizni amalga oshiramiz degan bir qarorga keldik. Bu yerda ijozat bergaysiz, men so'z navbatini Rustam Mamajonov janoblariga bermoqchiman.
Assalomu alaykum.
Thank you so much.
Доброе утро. Разрешите, мне кажется, от своего имени, от имени Кицеуста, во-первых, поблагодарить господина
First of all, upon your kind permission, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Rustam Mamajonov, Deputy Chairman of USU Ta'minot.
Assalomu alaykum. Yana bir bor.
Good afternoon. Нет, я только его слышу.
First of all, I would...
Yes, sorry for technical problems.
That's okay. First of all, I would like to say thanks for being today with us, and honestly saying all logistics and all issues which was done today was done by him. Thanks, really, because honestly saying that our involvement on the logistics and doing this one, it was only about zero. And
because we have technical problems.
No. I just want to say really thanks to him, because everything's organized. Of course, there is some kind of maybe it is.
Конечно, здесь могут наблюдаться.
And I would like also thanks not to our donors, but I want to say that our friends, which is giving to us possibility to achieve our goals. And I would like to say thanks to our friends that helping to us, bringing the money, bringing the grants and other issues, and solving all of these problems together. And I know that Azimjanike is also told, and I would like also to congratulate all of you with coming this one of the great celebrations is in Nowruz, and I would like to good health and all dreams come true in this kind of event. And from the side of also,
хотел бы пожелать
that the doing this country platform. It is one of the best things which I was thinking about and that we were thinking about it, and now it's came to true. And thanks to the Agency on Strategy for Strategic Reforms, which is started this one, and because there is lots of donors which is coming to Uzbekistan, which we are working directly with them, but the main problem was there wasn't like a mutual understanding on how everything is going on. Now we are sitting in one platform and trying to solve all issues together, not on different way and on his way. And once more, I would like to thanks to this meeting that we can sit together to solve all our issues. And if you would give to me the chance and about strategy platform and KPI and other things and how it's going things in about the Usutamanote, I will do in my presentation and next speech. Thank you very much once more.
Thank you very much, Rustam Jonake. So translation is going okay?
Yes.
Maybe we don't need the translation and we can go ahead. So if we follow the agenda,
endi esa bizlar hozir kun tartibiga rioya etgan holda bizlar davom ettiramiz va bu yerda endi esa bizlar sohani ishchi dasturini muhokama qilamiz. Ya'ni bu yerda aynan sohani asosiy faoliyat ko'rsatkichlarini muhokama qilamiz. KPI asosiy faoliyat ko'rsatkichlari. Faoliyat ko'rsatkichlari.
Yeah.
Discuss, I think we'll get more.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, colleagues.
Mikrofon pust включит. Hurmatli hamkasblar.
Unfortunately, our director could not join because
hurmatli hamkasblar, bizlarni direktorimiz bugun bizlarga qo'shila olmadi. Afsuski, ertalabdan boshqa tadbirlari bor edi, ishtirok etadigan. Endi esa shu bois menga so'z berganda, lekin bizlarga vazir o'rinbosari janoblari va direktor muovini janoblari aytib o'tgandek, bizlar aynan bank vakili sifatida sizlarga buni qisqacha aytib o'tmoqchiman. Qanday qilib bizlarni xatti-harakatlarimizni amalga oshiryapmiz, ya'ni suv resurslarini boshqarishni mamlakatda va hozirgacha bizlar aynan moliyaviy ko'makni ko'rsatyapmiz. Mamlakatdagi suv resurslarini sektorini rivojlantirishni va bu aynan ichimlik suvi bo'lyapti. Bizlar 1.6 milliard dollarni ajratdik va bizlarni hozirgi portfelimizda
which was detached from the Ministry of Housing and Communal Services as a pure operator, as one of the ongoing reforms of the government of unbundling the operators from the regulators. And also we have provided financial assistance in totaling $620 million for the improvement of water resources management. With the current portfolio of $350 million, my colleague, Sirajuddin, he is in charge of water resources management from ADB's side. In addition to loans, we have provided various technical assistance and grants for preparing, designing projects, as well as strengthening the institutional capacity of the joint stock company and the water operators in the past. And we also supported the government in development and promotion of PPP projects, including our engagement as a transaction advisor for the Namangan wastewater treatment plant, which is one of the first PPP project in the country. Yes. And currently, I would like to mention about our ongoing, the preparation of climate resilient smart water project, which is one of the very few countries who is ready to take on financial assistance to leverage advanced technologies in the water supply and sanitation sector. So we are in the process of designing the project, and in our next meetings we would be happy to present to you the components. So we will have more coordinated and integrated approach in moving forward. So I would like to welcome again as a co-lead of the sector working group, and hope we will achieve, reach the common understanding and understand and recognize the need and significance of the support to the Ministry of Water Resources, and as well as joint stock company in facing all the issues that they have, and also support them in their reform agenda. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Donyor. To not kind of irritate other colleagues, of course, we will have the possibility, not today, to present what we are doing. So, but today is more about agreeing on the overall. As you have a little bit highlighted already and started to talk about what ADB is doing, maybe I can just, before handing over to our chair, propose that we would really work on a matrix, on an Excel. So I understand that with Yusuf Daminot it's already started. What we need, and I hear from all the development partners, a proper technical overview on who is doing what, with what modality, in what time frame, with what objectives, to share what we are doing in the vocational education and training reform. There we have established a digital platform which shall be then used by the government, but we need that so that we don't overlap and don't use here too much time for presenting all our portfolios. And so we think this at the technical level, I would already propose, and this will then give all people the possibility, the stakeholders, to enter. And then we can identify where are overlapping issues or issues that we will take back to the group. And with that, thank you so much, Don. You're back over.
Matrix that Rahel is referring, because in our previous donor coordination meetings, we proposed to have this matrix so everybody is in the know what is going on in the sector. You can clearly see briefly the description and the outputs and outcome objectives of the project. And so we expect, for instance, what Swiss is how Swiss is supporting, and how other IFIs and development partners are supporting the sector. Then we will have the overall view, and moving forward, it would serve as
work plan of our sectoral working group for 2023, and one of the requirements from the Agency for Strategic Reforms in Development. So this work plan should have a key performance indicator. We've been discussing internally what should be the KPIs, and today we are presenting a draft. However, we seek your advice, suggestions on the subject matter. And Ms. Raquel Bosch I would like ask Ms. Raquel Bosch to present the draft working group. But at the same time, after we hear the draft work plan, I suggest we our questions, remarks after the presentations, because the follow-up will be two presentations of the strategies of Sultanahmet and also strategy of the Ministry for development strategies. And this is the first time we were presenting the strategies and discussing. So during the discussion, the work plan should be in line with the strategies. At the same time, if we need to do fine-tuning in our strategies, then we can also consider that in the development of the strategies. So with that, Raquel, please.
Thank you very much. if we will present it there, but maybe it's much better when you should have in your folder the work plan. We have also, of course, warm welcome to all colleagues that join us in the Zoom. And this work plan has been sent out by the Secretariat together with the invitation. But for those who are here, you find it in your folder, table folder. The idea, as the chair said, is to, I mean, you have seen that, will have, of course, the comments, but allow me to give you a bit the background on what was our thinking. So again, I would really like to thank in particular to your team, Deputy Minister Azim. You have been working hard on first drafts because Agency for Strategic Reforms really pushed us. I mean, we had this deadline by 28th of February. So we have really worked hard together to get the good strategic understanding. What are we talking about? And we have agreed that this is the coordination level and not the executive level. And you will see that it's not a work plan where we discuss on how we achieve concrete results, but what and how we will achieve the better coordination. And so we have reviewed the objectives, the water-related objectives as voiced out in the Uzbek Development Strategy 22-27. We have identified there again, I mean, the goals set there. We have then cross-checked with the existing strategy, the ongoing, what are the key goals. So where I'm really proud on, I hope you are also, the first column, the broader objective. That is quite some thinking behind it. What are the broad objectives? Because this sector working group will only meet 3 times or 4 times. So it will be the art of this coordination not to get lost in the complexity and in the details and not in the technicalities. So we have there a focus on the objective. The first broader objective is the integrated water resources management principles to protect water resources. We are not talking about irrigation or drinking or ground. You see that? It's really, and efficient water use and the digitalization. This is the first thing, and you have voiced it out, dear Azim and Rustam. We will discuss later the related strategies. And just to lead you through this line that you understand the thinking, and of course we are also dependent on the advice of the Agency for the Strategic Reform, but we thought this is the right kind of strategic thinking. So we have this meeting today. We have tabled today as one key performance indicator that we have discussed this work plan. We are just discussing that we have understood the key milestones in these strategies that will be presented, and that we have agreed, we will not have the feedbacks today, but that we have agreed, because these are the key performance indicators for all the year, that by end of the year we have there a good consideration of our feedback, and that by the end of the year these 2 related strategies are submitted to the highest level government or presidential administration, and that there our common thinking is reflected. So that is just one example of the first objective we propose. And the second one is you can read it, but I can still read it out, implementation of the state program for the radical reform of the water resources management system, water conservation, and on the other hand, the development of the system of engineering, communication, and social infrastructure of the regions, as well as the service sectors. Again, this is very broad. This we foresee for August, and where we have identified 3 very broadly again. We will, of course, then discuss when preparing August, but it's for sure it's the water code we are all working on. It's the tariff reforms. We know this is a sensitive issue. It's the white elephant in the room very often. We know that. So again, there we want want to have that tabled, and then of course the private, public-private partnerships, the private sector participation. And again, there we have proposed some key, very broad performance indicators for the full year. And just to illustrate again our thinking, we had a discussion on the last key performance indicators, because there it was the original was really in numbers, saying like this and this many foreign direct investment in this sector. And there, I mean, maybe we are wrong, but we understood this is not the task of the sector working group. This is in the terms of reference of the government. We want to contribute by better coordinating. So maybe we have to kick out or to change this key performance indicator, but it's not here. We will not coordinate about the exact figures and numbers. So again, there was this thinking. And I come to the last one. This is the, and you see then also the related protocol, and I'm happy, Tamara, that you are here also connected with Zoom from UNECE. This relates to the access to safe and adequate drinking water and sanitation and the health security. There we have, of course, WHO, UNECE water protocol in the making, and then we have the sectoral regulatory reforms. And last but not least, we have the institutional capacity building. So again, there we hope that we have, I will not go now, this is end of the year, and it might be a bit, how can I say, ambitious, but we think it's anyhow on your plans. So this is nothing new. It's just trying to bring that at the certain level to the same understanding of on what we would coordinate in these three broad joint sector working groups. Can I conclude with a suggestion on the architecture? And we had also this preparatory meeting with interested development partners, taking it serious that we want to do our homework to better coordinate amongst ourselves. So thank you, colleagues, for all your thoughts. What we thought is very important to emphasize. Firstly, we have already good technical subgroups working on topics. Example, water code. Many of you are involved. Switzerland with ADB, I think we are taking their key responsibility, but there's so much wonderful expertise in it. So this is something which works. The other one is the national information management system. We have this we have identified in the sector working group, water irrigation, that there is a huge need for compatibility of IT systems in the water management. So we have there this technical working group, which is already working. Help me, there was a third good example. I just forgot now. I think our project NWRM, National Water Resources Management, is leading it, but there is SHIIZ in, there is KFW in, of course, ADB in. So why I highlighted here, our proposal, dear colleagues, would be that we keep this as broad, of course, with your feedback, as possible, but identify key technical issues that we need to build technical groups, and that development partners and agencies, government agencies, would volunteer to lead that. One example might be public-private partnership. I just aired this. So we would, again, to repeat, the suggestion would be we work, Antonio, you have said it, on a matrix and overview who is doing what. This is like a digital platform. We identify eventually the need for these technical subgroups, and we continue these subgroups that work well. And this will all feed into this working group and vice versa. And then we will have the country coordination platform organized by the Agency for Reform, where we will feedback. So these three layers, the digital platform on who is doing what, Excel or digital, technical working group, this working group and then the highest level. That's a bit the architecture we thought, and I share with you this architecture because it impacts on what you expect from this work plan. Thank you very much. Over.
Thank you.
Mikrofon sizga turibdi aka.
Sorry, World Bank is leading as a secretariat, I assume. So in this regard, I'm sure for them, they need to collaborate, coordinate these 12 working groups as well. So their feedback also will be very valuable. So they don't have at the end apple and oranges. But at the same time, the focal points, as you can see in this table, we have everywhere SDC and ADB, and on the local focal points only Ministry and Usu Tamanot. So we, at the end, as Raquel mentioned, if we'd like to have more partners indicated in this focal point, so we can know who's helping in this regard. So with that, I would like to move on the next section in the agenda. So we'd like to I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Mr. Rustam Mamajonov, drafting the strategy for water supply and sanitation system in Republic of Uzbekistan. Please. There will be a presentation.
Where is the technique? Omina? Yes, okay. So while we are waiting for the presentation, I have a good news to share. Seeing Zokir there at the, we had a secretariat supported by our project in the water resources management, done by the Information Analytical Resource Center, AIRC, and led by Zokir. And so this is the secretariat, was the secretariat of the existing one part of this sector working group. And we have agreed that you would take the secretariat for the full integrated working group. But we would then need, of course, to discuss with Usuf Daminot, who is the focal point in you, but that we have also one single secretariat and not two secretariats for a joint working group. Thank you to the Institute, to the resource, you know.
Thank you. Just Zokir, we'd like to ask to, so you raise your hand so everybody knows you. Zokir, and he's the director of the center. So will be the secretariat for this working group. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry. I just would like to share with you our views and thoughts, and also about just to explain and what also Taminat was doing for today, and what kind of plans is did for 2023 and up to 2026. And that's why I would like to introduce you with my presentation strategy for water supply and sewage system in the Republic of Uzbekistan. Today, under the leadership of our president, large-scale reforms are being implemented in the sphere of the water supply and sanitation. As a result of this sector is changing radically. An important role in this process served to develop strategy of action on 5 priority areas of development of Republic of Uzbekistan. In accordance with the presidential decree dated November 26, 2019, The Usutamina joint stock company was established, and today company consists of 18 companies, 17 companies in regions, and one is the lead one. As a result, systematic work was initiated in all important areas of the sphere. A leading organization was formed, main goal of which is to estimate existing shortcomings, promptly solve emergency issues, develop plans for the future with the use of leading international experience. Today, if 74.4% of the population or 26.8 million people of our country are provided with the centralized water, 18.9% of the population or 6.8 million people are provided with a sewerage system only. In sector, the main challenges are absolutely infrastructure. 29% of existing water network, which is 25.6 thousand kilometers, is needed to be reconstructed, and efficiency of the existing water treatment plants is 62% only. 23% of existing sewage networks, which is 2.1 thousands of kilometers, is needed to be reconstructed, and efficiency of this existing wastewater treatment plants is only 75%. Non-revenue water, social adjustable tariff, low calibrity of payments of supplied water, reduction of water resources, necessity of water saving measures. Based upon these issues, we developed the draft of the development concept of the sector for 2022-2035. The main goals of this concept are to ensure stable drinking water supply, comprehensive development and modernization of the systems, to increase operational characteristics and provisions of guaranteed services. The main direction of the concepts are to develop foundations of unified state policy in the field of improvement and integrated development of the sector, the safety of infrastructure facilities, to reduce negative impacts to the environment, to further improve the legal framework, to introduce modern system of effective management, to strengthen the development institutional capacity to provide qualified personnel for utility industry. Based on this, we started transformation of water supply and sanitation sector. For example, the company's financial statement for 2020 were prepared based on the international standards IFRS. Cancellation of financial flows of the regional water supply enterprise on the basis of IFRS at the end of the 2003. KPI system was introduced on the second quarter of 2022. International certificates on quality management, ISO 9001, and the fight against corruption, ISO 37001, were obtained. Obtaining international certificates on occupational health and safety, ISO 45001 and 2018, and the environmental management system, ISO, is under review. Adaptation of the law on removal of drinking water supply and sewage. An international consultant is involved for obtaining the international credit rating of the society, fourth quarter of 2022. Complete digitalization of the system has been implemented. GIS, SCADA, hydraulic modeling, telemetry countries improved, and billing, which we have planned for the years until we want to finish it until the year 2025. Honestly saying, now we have signed a contract with the Ernst & Young, which is making the association, a joint venture with Alvarez and Marshall and Index Group. The water sector is particularly on this issue. We are cooperating with the Ernst & Young company. Nowadays, together with this company, we are working on 10 components of this transformation of this sector. The water sector, in particular, the water companies are facing growing challenges in order to serve their customers. Shortage in the water resources, non-revenue water, and the need to deliver more for less, along with the business of usual delivery, such as growth and climate change. With such pressures, there is a need for efficient provisions of essential services, including safe and security drinking water and wastewater management. for those digital solutions are being integrated in the water sector. For 2023, we have identified some key performance indicators for Usotaminot that we should achieve till the end of the year. First, reaching the level of water supply till 77.5%. This year, we plan to provide additional 1.1 million people with a centralized water supply system. At the same time, till the end of this year, the provision level with sewerage will be 19.5%, and additional 200,000 people will be provided with a sewage system. In order to provide the population with access to data on quality of consumer drinking water, the web platform Usotaminot Water Lab will be launched. This year, we are targeting completely finish 2 projects with total cost of $130 million. First project is the reconstruction of Jeddah City wastewater system with participation of Asian Development Bank. Amount of investment is $79.5 million. As a result of which construction of 1 wastewater treatment plant with a capacity of 30,000 cubic meters per day, 116 kilometers sewer network and 7 pumping station will be completed. Second project, reconstruction and development of the sewage system in Gulistan, Shirin, and Yangier cities of the Sanitariya region. With participation of Islamic Development Bank, amount of investment is $57.5 million as a result of the construction of 3 wastewater treatment plants, which capacity 41,000 cubic meters per day, 130 kilometers sewer network, and 17 pumping stations will be completed. Input of completion of these 2 projects will give to us for 146,200 people living in 51 settlements will be provided with a central sewerage system. The main purpose for 2023-2027 is to increase the coverage of the population with the drinking water supply and sewage services in order to create decent living conditions and health protection of the citizen. Thus, it is expected to attract investment in amount of $4.6 billion, which is 3.3 times more than in previous 5 years. In order to improve water supply in 2023-2027, it's planned to build 4,531 facilities and 44.2 thousand kilometers of the water supply networks, whereas in the sewerage system planned to construct 234 facilities and 2.9 thousand kilometers of the sewerage network. By 2023, it's targeted to increase the level of provision of the population with the clean drinking water to 90% and the sewerage system up to 35%. Today, with the participation of international financial institutes in the field of the water supply and sanitation, 24 projects with a total cost of $2.2 billion are being implemented, and the issue of implementing 23 promising projects with a cost $2.1 billion are also being worked out. Source of funding for 90 projects from the existing perspectives projects have already been identified, and for 4 projects with a total value of $268 million, the possibility of attracting preference loans is being worked out. Continuing my speech, I would like to inform about my main existing issues in the sector. Feasibility studies and design documentation are very poor. Local design institutes are not up to standard, doesn't have knowledge how to use modern hydraulic modeling software. Lack of local water supply sanitation engineers and management. No asset management system also. Outdated accounting policies and international financial reporting standard is not implemented. Outdated infrastructure design lacking effectiveness. The elimination of the infrastructure into the manageable service zones and the district metering areas. No optimized pressure zoning and effective leakage controls. No geographic information system databases and supervisory control and data acquisition SCADA system in place. There is no real information about water production volume and non-revenue level. A lack of reliable system for tracking services levels as a customer connection. In order to solve above-mentioned issues, it's necessary to provide with following required support in the sector transformation. Develop sector development strategy for at least 10 years. Conduct institutional and regulatory reforms. Transition of the IFIs, achieve financial and operational sustainability. Development of capacity building program. Establish a national integrity GIS and SCADA system. Improvement of performance management by key performance indicators in the water supply and sewerage sector. Improved capacity of the water utilities for controlling leakages and managing non-revenue water based on the optimized network design with DMAs and optimized pressure zoning. Sound engineering solution for improving the water supply and sanitation infrastructure based on hydraulic modeling and other methods of best international practices. Establish an integrated nationwide asset management system. Development of regional billing system. And the main issue for us, to raise public awareness of usage of the water. Furthermore, I would like to express my gratitude for the World Bank, for all donors for the contribution in capacity building of joint stock company Usutamino. With technical assistance program for Uzbekistan, capacity building and water academy with the participation of the World Bank, K-Water Academy and the ADB concept note for feasibility of water academy in Uzbekistan is done. In the program, 20 trainers got trained at TOT program and 10 specialists of the water supply sector will be trained soon. Furthermore, within the TA program for the capacity building program on the water supply and sanitation services, was also terminated workforce with the participation of ADB in 2023 with assistance of the World Bank and Asian Development Bank, 120 engineers and specialists in the water supply and sanitation sector. In total, 150 engineers and specialists in water supply and sanitation sector will be trained in 2023. And the first quarter of 2023, 30 participants have been trained so far. In conclusion, I would like to wish you success and prosperity. I'm confidential that the result of joint work will be mutually beneficial and will create new opportunities. Production and successful partnership in our relation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rustam Jonake, for presenting the current situation in Usutamino, addressing the key challenges this organization is facing, and also already highlighting the key areas for support. I think during the questions and answers section we can discuss. Is it okay, or should we go to the questions on the? Maybe if there are a couple of burning questions that needs to be raised now, I think.
Let's try to continue, because otherwise we will get lost in this discussion and we want to have the full view. So, and please, colleagues, note your questions, and thank you also from our side from this very good and clear presentation. And I trust that we will send that out with the broad minutes of this meeting, so that you have all these important details and the good overview in a written format for you. Thank you.
Sorry. As my colleague Rustam just mentioned that their Usu Tamanot has a goal to increase the coverage with drinking water supply. This is putting us a pressure. Currently 4.5% of the water resources of Uzbekistan is directed to drinking water supply. So with the limited resources, now the challenge for us is we need to have these resources to be available for drinking water supply. We receive 51 billion cubic meters of water every year for the country. This is a agreement among the Central Asian states. Just number, I would like, 15 years ago, it was 62 billion, now 51 billion. However, last year, we had a terrible situation. We received only 43 billion. This is an available resource. And another constraint is 80% comes from the neighboring countries. Only 20% is generated in Uzbekistan. So the challenge, on the next slide, I will discuss about challenge, just that the agriculture is currently consuming 91% of available water resources. 4.5 is drinking water supply, and other sectors of economy, 4.5% remaining. The challenges, the biggest challenge is climate change. Second is population growth, urbanization, and economic development. Of course, economic development may seem it's good, but for us, it's a challenge because more factories means more water users. They are requiring more and water resources. So considering these challenges in 2020, we have developed a strategy and concept with the support many of you and your organizations. We had a concept for water sector development up to 2030, and also strategy for 3 years. So the concept for water sector development identified 11 priority areas that needs to be considered. So in the strategy, we have identified activities and key performance indicators that is we can do first 3 years. So this year is the last year of the strategy, the strategy. So strategy was for 2021 and 23, which was endorsed by the government, and we've been working, all our activities were in line with this. So next is what we are doing is we are now drafting the next strategy. Of course, the question may arise, why don't you have a concept? Why are you developing another strategy? Why don't you work on according to the concept? To us, it was agreed that we implement the concept based on the short 3-year strategies because of the challenges it might happen during the 3 years, and also the reforms and activities. So as you can see now, 2022 was a lot of activities with reforms, and based on the available water resources, we have to fine-tune the existing priority areas. However, I just want to highlight some of the priority areas we still want to continue in the follow-up strategy. So the needs for population and also economic sectors and environment for water. This would be the key areas as well. And ensuring the effective management and use of water resources. And I would say it in a shortly, like moving into the integrated water resource management. And achieving water and food security is being another challenge, because with population increase, we in a current strategy, which is ending this year, we didn't have the activities related to food security. Now population is growing, so now the strategy in agriculture sector, they're going into the third crop. Before when we were calculating the demand for water, we were considering only 2 crops per year. Now, because of the food security, agriculture sector strategy is considering going into the third crop, which requires additional water resources. So how we do this? How do we make sure that we have enough resources for agriculture production? The current goal was to decrease the agriculture demand or agriculture portion for water resources from 91 to 85, and give this 5% to other sectors, including drinking water. So now these challenges has to be reconsidered. So priority number 1 on the follow-up strategy is, again, development and implementation of principles of integrated water resource management. We know that we talk a lot about it, but we're not doing a good job on this. We understand, and at the same time, we committed to make sure that this is a key priority area for us, and we'd like to get feedback. And also, when we're developing the strategy for, next strategy, make sure that these activities, we should have exact activities and KPIs in this line. Next priority area will be scaling up the use of water-saving technologies. As I mentioned, the goal is to decrease the water use in agriculture sector. The only way is to introduce more water-saving technologies. It's in our concept, but already that by 2030, we'll have around 50% of irrigated area, which is 2 million hectares, will be under the waters, in areas where the water-saving technologies will be introduced. However, during the implementation of these activities, introducing the water saving, we are facing challenges. The high capex costs, not enough information of the benefits of the technology, and also using the technology also requires certain skills. So what we want to do is make sure that we'd like to scale up because we want to save water, but at the same time, make sure that activities in a priority area has exact requirements, and also we consider all these activities. Next priority area will be modernization of water infrastructure. Just a couple of technical information that only 30% of the irrigated infrastructure, which means canals, are lined. Only 30%. The ministry, on the assets, we had 27,000 kilometers of canals. But with the reform in 2022, when the Water Users Association sectors activities were transferred into under the ministry, so this inter-farm and on-farm system, which were within the assets of the Water Users Associations, now is responsible of our ministry. So we had 27,000 kilometers of canal. Now we have additional 150,000 kilometers of canal, even in worse condition, that we need to make sure we need to modernize in order to save water and also improve the water management there. And this will include, of course, the projects, the investment projects that we are working with our international financial institutions. Most of them are directed into modernization of the water infrastructure. But at the same time, introducing the digitalization, proper water accounting system into the existing water infrastructure also will help to improve and save water. This is part in the work plan. Another key priority area is modernization of pump stations. Just a couple of numbers. 60% of the area is irrigated by the pump stations. So we have around 1,700 pump stations under the ministry. However, as you can see from the slide, it's not 70% of these pump stations 40 years old. So even though life cycle is 30 years, but they have been working in the last 40 years, which says that we need to modernize them. And we'd like to thank our development partners and also financial institutions for supporting this pump station, for supporting the modernization of this pump station. And at the same time, the pump stations, our ministry is the biggest energy user in the country. We used to consume 8 million kilowatt an hour, 8 billion, sorry, kilowatt an hour. Now, in 2022, this reduced to 7.2. However, we are in every meeting in the government level, we are the bad guys because we're using a lot of energy. But at the same time, without this energy, we cannot provide water for this 60% of irrigated area. It's in line with all other activities, say similar water supply, agriculture sector, and so on and so on. So the goal in our concept is to make sure that by 2030, we would like to reduce the consumption to 6 billion. So from 8 billion to 6 billion by 2030. So this is the key priority area. This could be achieved by modernization of the pump station. This could be achieved of introducing the digitalization in the operation, and also introducing the public-private partnership activities. So we seek your suggestions and guidance how to achieve these goals, because this is a priority area. And next priority area is improvement of reclamation of irrigated lands. In Uzbekistan, we know that we have the areas with the land needs to be improved, and 23% of the area that has a critical groundwater level. So even though water resources are decreasing, however, groundwater is increasing. I mean, we're talking about shallow groundwater that is saline and shallow, at the same time causing secondary salinization. This is also indicator saying that the water is not used rationally on the on-farm level and at the same time in our systems. As I mentioned, 30% of the canals lined only. So 70% is water is, when we transferring the water through the canals, we're losing a lot of water, which is going into the shallow groundwater and causing the increase in groundwater and causing the secondary salinization. So this priority area will be continued. We're investing a lot. We're getting government state funds to improve the situation by, first of all, cleaning the drainage system and also monitoring the groundwater level. And this this is causing. But at the same time, another interesting fact is what we're hearing is, however, deep groundwater is decreasing, which is used for drinking water supply and sometimes for irrigation. This groundwater level is decreasing, but our shallow groundwater is increasing. So there is a discussion that, for example, Sutamanot is afraid increase in our saline groundwater will cause a depletion of the underground water resources. But at the same time, this information is kind of raising questions. So which is indicated that we are not coordinating properly, and hopefully through these activities, our coordination will be improved. Next priority area is, as you know, that in water management, the state is reformer. At the same time, state is, I mean, the government is paying for the water. And the next priority area will be introduction of market principles for, basically, it's giving the private sector opportunity to be part of the water management system. So this is the concept of public-private partnership has been introduced already for last 3 years within the ministry. We cannot say that we are doing good job on it. However, we are testing, and we have some gained experience, and would like to increase the experience and so implement more PPP projects. Next priority area is, in short, I would call it digitalization of water sector. With support of our development partners, we are already introducing activities on automation of water monitoring and metering, the hydraulic structures, pump stations, and so on and so on. And we have a lot of digital information being collected within the ministry. So now next steps should be of using this information and to making for decision-making purposes. So we'll continue digitalizing the metering system, but at the same time, on the next 3 years, we'd like to push more on modeling activities and also using the collected digital information for operation maintenance. Next priority area is, of course, development of human, scientific, and innovative potential of water management. This is basically supporting the building the capacity of the personnel working, at the same time bringing the results of the science into the water sector. This is one of the areas where we are not doing good job as well, because as I mentioned, the scientists and water managers are talking different language. So we're trying to find it either translator or to speak in the same language. So we investing, the ministry started increasing the investment in science. However, we're not using the results, or sometimes the results are not suitable for us. So bringing the science and innovation into the water management is another key priority area. Next is linked with that is, as I mentioned, that strengthening the scientific research in water sector and widespread information scientific activities. And just we call this opportunity that integration of science with industry. And this building, actually, we moved here last year. This building is historical building. The building of the organization called Saniri used to be During Soviet time, this is a main research scientific institution for irrigation for Central Asia. So by moving into the building, we hope to integration will improve, and at the same time, we hoping that this results of the science will improve water management in the country. And last but not least, the priority area is development of interstate relations in use of transboundary water resources. Sometimes we discuss maybe this should be the priority number one, but this is here we don't have highlighted which one is number one, which one is number two. However, I just want to mention that why this priority area is important. As I mentioned, 80% of our water resources comes from the neighboring countries. So we depend on our neighbors. So proper communication and proper discussion with our neighboring countries is very important. And this is already demonstrated by our president. Almost every week there is a collaboration with neighboring countries. And now it's executive bodies, we need to follow up, make sure that implement the reached agreements. And this is requiring, so we need to build the capacity within the ministry. So we have required personnel who is ready for day-to-day communication with our neighboring countries. At the same time, making sure that we are implementing the agreed activities, but at the same time showing, make sure that national interests are in line with the regional interests, because the water management is a very key area for the country, and we need to collaborate. And in this case, promotion of this constructive dialogue and develop a good cooperation with our neighboring countries is very important. So, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, these are the key priority areas we'd like to have in our strategy, these priority areas were in our current, they are in current strategy, but at the same time, we need to fine tune and in follow-up development of the strategy is, as Raquel mentioned, that many of you already supporting the development of the strategy. We have a draft terms of reference prepared, and ADB is also mentioned that they are willing to support, and all other donors are supporting. And we need to make sure that in the follow-up in our investment projects, when we are developing components of the projects, these priority areas are considered. If we can achieve this, I think, of course, it's not easy to achieve, but if we can at least keep in mind and try to achieve this, when we develop a project concept, when we develop a feasibility study, this will pretty much help everyone. Well, thank you very much. Now we move to questions and answers, and I'd like to ask our friend Raquel to moderate this part, because please.
What?
No, we all will support, but you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Rustam. I think this was real rich presentation and inspiring presentation. Thank you so much. I think I can talk without having discussed with you. On behalf of us, it really provides, the presentations provide an excellent overview on the key challenges, on the key priority areas, on the ongoing projects, in particular in the drinking water, and Azim, you have really highlighted the need for coordination and between you, but also I think listening to you, of course, we know that also with other ministries. So with this, please, I would suggest kind of that you just take the floor and comment overall on the work plan, and then maybe also comment and give you feedback on the two strategies, and bear with us. So we, I think we wouldn't do very detailed minutes, but really just broad, so that we don't create through this platform another body that creates a lot of paper. So just really let's keep it to the point. Please also introduce yourself and your function. Thank you very much. To whom can I give the floor?
Yes. First of all, thank you so much. It's an honor to me present today in this meeting. I'm representing UNDP Uzbekistan. My name is Isamuddin Akromov. I'm a regional project manager on climate change and resilience in Central Asia. So regarding the annual work plan, I don't have a questions. So we have received also the letter from the ministry to support development of the strategy for the further 3 years. I have a few questions. First of all, congratulations, good start together with the water supply agency, and then you are focusing on implement more IWRM principles in your strategy as well in irrigation. Being irrigation or water management specialist, I have following questions. So we all well know that irrigation or water management at district level, you based in let's say in Uzbekistan, management based on administrative principle. Yeah, you have a district irrigation departments. If in the strategy you are going to, let's say, move more IWM principle, do you have a government that plans to keep these district irrigation departments or to move more hydraulic principles of the water management? And also, you didn't mention, I hope that you have plans to mainstreaming more gender principles into water management sector, because we know we have very less people, or let's say women working in water management sector. Maybe do you have any plans to incentive to the women and girls? Yeah. And also next question regarding the water saving technologies. Yes, that's true that government put a big step to move forward with the water saving technologies. But what about the calculation of the real, let's say, actual crop water requirement of the based on innovative methods or based on the GIS systems? And also you really mentioned regarding the usage of the electricity in irrigation sector. We know that drip irrigation requires more energy at the pilot level. Do you have any assessments or trade-offs how it's impacted to the usage of the energy sector? And do you have a plans in the strategy to install, let's say, solar panels? Because I hope it also could decrease, let's say, energy usage from irrigation sector. And also regarding transboundary water management, we all know that the cooperation is now in place with both neighbor countries in Uzbekistan. But when we visited, let's say, Fergana Valley, sometimes it's, let's say, not in place the transboundary water cooperation in small river basins. Yeah. Do you have any plans to monitor, like say, or just to collect which kind of small river basins we have, what kind of problems we have with the neighbor countries? This is my questions. Thank you so much.
Oops, dear colleague. As I have the responsibility to chair, give me the freedom to collect 3 statements so that others can also link to these questions. You might have additional questions to these points, and we take, sorry, promised I help you to remind the questions. We take note on the questions. To whom can I give the floor? Next. Germany Minister.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Chairman, Mr. Minister, Mr. Deputy General Director. I congratulate you for the achievements that we have made today. It's very good that we have this technical talk in that depth. We haven't had that before, at least not on this level, and I think it's the right way to go. I would just like to ask some technical questions, like Germans always do. First, to put it first, but not elaborate on that, we have significant engagement in the area. It's fairly large and it's growing. We have also experts on the table here, so we are ready to meet the demands. What we are wondering is a little bit, when we look at the platform itself, at the country platform on the level of the Strategic Reforms Agency, we see overlapping responsibilities in several working groups. So the topic of water and water resources management is touched in at least, let me see. It must be contained in green growth number 10. It is part of urban development number 5. So I think it would be necessary to work that out to avoid double work and to ensure on the other side that we have the interfaces that we need for this practical work. And then the responsibilities between the ministries. I'm happy to see you both here, but I have met also colleagues from yours in other ministries that also claim a certain responsibility in the area, like the Ministry for Natural Resources or others. And it would be good for us to know who's actually claiming what and responsible for what. Because there's also maybe, the problem for us that especially us as the embassies, and I see also French and Japanese and other representatives here, that we speak with the government. And we, of course, it would be helpful for us if you as the leader of this working group could give us some advice on that. Then, Rachel, I can't avoid it, the modus operandi of the platform. It's so many technical issues. What I've seen, it was an overwhelming presentation. I really congratulate you to that. But it's so many technical questions. If I break it down to our work plan, I'm asking myself, what is the transmission mechanism? So who puts which specific question in here, and how do we give answer in only 3 sessions throughout the year? This is a quite challenging task. And of course, as we want to be helpful with all what we do, we would need to learn about it. Maybe we don't have to discuss it broadly here, but that's something that I would pay attention to. And then, well, we have to continue. I missed a little bit the topic of water saving. I was working in many countries affected by drought, and I see that Tashkent is enjoying a lot of water, and I can understand that is traditional, the best way to deal with the summer. But I'd like to see the issue of water saving. I saw it in Cape Town, in California, in Germany, in so many countries. But you have very, very complex challenges, and I think you are on a very, very good path, and we are ready to help you. And that's my main questions for the time being.
Thank you so much, Michael, for these encouraging words. I have also noted these 3 points. I think definitely the question on the architecture of the sector working groups go to the Agency for Strategic Reform. So we will come back. The third, yes, please. And then we will give back to the 2 relevant government ministries and also to ASR.
Hello, everyone. I'm Yulia Martushina from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. And as was presented earlier, we're happy to support the ministry and Usuf Tuminot with their investment projects. As you know, we just signed 200 million for irrigation support. And I wouldn't focus on all actual aspects of our joint collaboration, but wanted to ask 2 technical questions. As you know, in our investment projects and in terms of my function, I focus more on the implementation actually of actual projects. You know, we support a lot the life cycle cost selection. Why? Exactly to ensure that all our strategic discussions about efficiency of usage of the resources actually is embedded in how we spend all those kind of money dedicated to the sector. So in this regard, my first question is, one thing, okay, in the investment projects financed by the IFIs, life cycle cost selection, meaning that during the implementation, you take into account not only costs of the CapEx, but also cost of the subsequent operation of the assets, right? Like for wastewater treatment plan, making sure that efficiency of the resources, and this is not only water and energy, actually everything else which goes into that are taken into account. So our question in this regard, Do you plan on the strategy level to ensure the same approach to apply in terms of all the projects implemented by the ministry, basically using budget resources and else, therefore upscaling all those opportunities in the sector? And the second question is focused more on the sewage subsector. We all talk about drinking water supply and irrigation. Much was said about that during the presentations. But as you could have noticed from the presentation of Mr. Mamajanov, the sewage coverage is less than 20% for the population. And as you may imagine, okay, we focus on the water supply, but if you don't treat carefully all this water, right, which goes then back, this is a closed circle. What happens then with water availability? So, and again, I have to disclaim, I'm not an engineer in that, but we hear a lot from various stakeholders, being it contractors, consultants, our participants in the sector, that the standards for treatment, including tertiary treatment, are so high that it's making actually it's cost prohibitive to implement this on a full scale, meaning that it could be actually one of the reasons why you have such a low coverage for sewage, because it's just way too costly to implement it in accordance with all the local standards. And again, we are not, of course, to say here this is right or wrong, but what we hear that in many countries, the practice is that actually you define the treatment of the effluent depends on the subsequent usage, meaning that you could look at the more cost-effective ways to rehabilitate and introduce this infrastructure. So in this regard, our question is, are you going to consider anything about it in this current strategy for the next 3 years? Or actually, what are your plans about that? Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear colleague from the EBRD. I will immediately hand over to our chairs. Let me just take this quite technical and extremely important question as a good example on how I would see the transmission that was just highlighted by the German colleagues. When we do these rounds, I try to identify what strategic level. So this gives me the idea exactly what you're mentioning. That is not something we can discuss in detail. We can just bounce back the question, is it kind of foreseen in the priority area? But this would be a thing all the partners working on sewage system need to sit together and have a technical discussion and come up with a policy advice to Usuf-Daminot. So can I just take that as a very good example that we identify this as an urgent need to discuss with all the dimension, energy saving, etc., as one technical group. And of course, you can think about who would take the initiative to call for such a technical group. I don't say you have to meet 1 year every week. Maybe it's 2 meetings and you have clarified it. So also let us be flexible there. Thank you very much. So can I give the floor first in
Okay, yeah, let me try. Thank you. Thank you for the questions. Question number 1, basin principle. It is not, it may not be in the current strategy, however, it is in line. Why we are not pushing this? First of all, we have district departments in each district department for water management, and the budget is paid by the district. So it's not central budget. So what we need to make sure, we'd like to first improve the situation at the district level. Then later on, they would be the operators or the service providers, water resource. And in the meantime, the ministry will become a basin, you know, the managing organization at the basin level. So we preparing we working on the same level in both levels. At the basin principle, there are discussion among the internally within the ministry. We should go back to 2003 when we had these basin principles, 10 basins managing the whole entire country. However, at this time, I think we not current situation is showing that we need to improve the on-farm system to make sure the water is managed better there. then also consider the basin principle. Second question, gender activities. Good question, which we don't have the answer. Just we are doing our best. We just raise the statistics. In water sector, most of the graduates come from Irrigation Institute. Just statistics. Less than 10% in the graduates. How can we have the more female working in the? This is one, I think, constraint. But we shouldn't call this as a constraint. We are working with the Irrigation Institute to make sure they attract more female students, so we have more graduates. But the same second constraint is workload, low paid and at the same time hard work. So also putting a constraint on it. But at the same time, a lot of projects within the projects we are getting support on developing gender action plans, and if there are ways to move forward, we are open for collaboration. The third question, energy usage, whether water saving technologies require more energy. Yes, they were putting pumps into the drip system. However, this is made so a bigger pump will work less. Just example, Karshi main cascade, which provides 75% of the Kashkadarya water resources. Daily energy consumption is 8.5 billion sums. So in other words, you can build a school for that money. So burning energy, so in a way, like district or Kashkadarya province is not getting one school a day because we have to run the pump. So by introducing water saving technologies, we can run not entire day, maybe half a day, which would be enough. So the cost of energy used by water saving technology is very few than we running the big pumps. The next question, transboundary. I think I agree that we're not doing a good job on publicizing the work we're doing. As I said, we have no other choice to improve the transboundary water management. We already just in agenda we have every month at least 2 meetings in transboundary water management with our neighboring countries. However, maybe we're not putting in public this information enough. But at the same time, there is unofficial working groups in each province. I mean, who are neighboring with our neighboring countries. They already have unofficial working groups among the water management organizations who are, they're already doing the transboundary water basin management organization activities informally. So, but at the same time, there is a support, USAID helping us on this, developing the small basin scale water management activities, and also in other projects. I think, yes, this could be part of the strategy activity that we do more of these activities. And I forgot what was there were 5 questions. Yes.
Installation of solar panels.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I didn't turn off. Oh, it's some technique there. So we introduced a couple months ago the solar panels into the building. So now building is, I don't know, you call it green or some, but at the same time, slowly we are working with our province departments that first we are starting from our buildings. Second, on PPP projects, we are collaborating with the international private sector who's interested. Of course, as we are biggest energy users who's interested in selling energy cheaper than currently. So one of the projects we are working together is building a power plant, solar power plant, next to our big pump stations. So we will have then consume this energy at the same time, maybe putting less burden to the national grid and so on. But this is just at the beginning stage. But in our investment projects, for example, World Bank supported Fergana Phase 2 projects that during rehabilitation of the vertical wells, the solar powered energy system were considered as a pilot. So now we are demonstrating this pilot project to other regions as a in order to upscale it. So next, the question from our German colleague overlapping with other groups. Of course, this is good information which will raise to the Agency for Strategic Reforms, and they are interested, as I said earlier, that they will have harder time to coordinate these 12 working groups, at the same time to put together the work plans of these 12 working groups. I think if we provide in our meetings or working group meetings to the strategic department, strategic Agency for Strategic Reforms with these issues, this will be very helpful. Next question of who's responsible for water? Well, I'll ask my colleagues. So we all say, I'm responsible. Minister of Natural Resources responsible. Again, these questions have been asked several times. This is personal reply is this current reform in the country is beginning. So by end of this year or for next year, there will be more further reforms based on the result of current reforms. So eventually, we hope that there will be one organization responsible for water sector, which will include the groundwater, which will include all other sectors, and will have, this requires a time, and also the strategies then will be in line as well.
We are a bit short in time.
Я думаю, Азамджан ответил на все ваши вопросы. Но насчет того, что вот солнечная энергия, которой мы сегодня, кажется, думаем о том, что она необходимо, кажется, везде, кажется, установить, давайте еще немножко остановимся насчет ее цены и то, что как ее еще сберегать, потому что вы поймите, солнечная энергия, да, кажется, если погода хорошая, кажется, она предоставится, скажем, какую-то свою возможность, кажется, для того, чтобы пользоваться, а вечерний период, или, скажем, когда все это туманно, скажем, или возьмем, как ее хранить, например. И на сегодняшний день выходит так, что цена она намного дороже выходит, чем то, что государство, скажем, продает. Поэтому есть и всякие варианты, которые мы необходимо тоже обсудить, потому что Азамджан правильно сказал, кажется, если взять, например, то, что они используют 8 миллионов, скажем, мегаватт, кажется, электричества в год, кажется, а мы тоже около миллионов, например, да, и это тоже, кажется, садится на наши плечи. Мы понимаем то, что и насчет вопроса, то, что Азамджан правильно сказал насчет гендерного равенства, кажется, вот он реально правильно, вот пример, кажется, если 10% все то, что заканчивает ирригационный институт, скажем, да, например, и то, что и люди, которые, кажется, по системе водоснабжения тоже учатся там, и в транспортном институте, скажем, например, это намного ниже, кажется, и мы же тоже не можем, кажется, брать людей, которые, кажется, нет специалистов, скажем, да, это из-за того, что должна быть женщина, например, да, нам нужны те люди, которые должны еще работать. Насчет того, что, то, что нам по ЕБРР задали, да, мы начали, с вами вместе, некоторые тендеры уже, то, что по ИПК смотрим, и ОПЭКСу смотрим, да, это великолепная вещь, потому что, почему, мы пришли, мы постепенно приходим к этому, мы понимаем, потому что мы провели сейчас первый тендер с Азиатским банком реконструкции, с Азиатским банком развития насчет того, чтобы по проектам ГЧП, и мы поняли для себя тоже, насколько это будет дорого или насколько это будет, скажем, как это будет правильно охватывать все это. И мы хотим тоже увидеть, какие у нас будут в будущем расходы. И мы потихоньку уже стали внедрять. Вот мы перешли в желтую книгу, скажем, и мы сейчас с вами вместе переходим в золотую книгу, скажем, физика, для того, чтобы начать наши тендеры. И мы хотим тоже быть уверены, что в реальности во сколько там это обойдется и как мы за это оплатим. Все, я думаю, хотя.
Thank you very much. Do we have time to sit until 12:15 so that we can a little bit prolong and have another round of feedbacks in order to save time? I didn't see any no's in the room. I have also a request from the Zoom, but let me just quickly summarize what, as a facilitator, what I would suggest from this discussion. So. Definitely, I think listening to the overlappings, also the renewable energy question is a big question in the room. So let us take this in the minutes, and please, colleagues, you think it over. There might be a volunteer who brings the next more technical talk together on who is planning what. You have mentioned a few examples, so definitely very important. The other is just on the sewage system and the life cycle costs. So I think there again, I bounce back to EBRD, please. Can you take this initiative? And then to the Agency for Strategic Reforms, you mentioned it, Minister, there will be a clarification and they will coordinate, however, a message with your permission, as we have two representatives from the agency here. Remember, we had in the last country coordination platform meeting, I think it was October or November 22, there was an overview on the 10 existing 9 sectors, I think, or was it 12? It was a bit another structure. And there, one key issue mentioned by every sector was the interministerial cooperation. So I understand by this reshufflement, we have a lot improved. However, also today, and I have the full understanding it's something new, but I would have expected many other ministries represented here, and of course, these ministries then also represented in other sector working groups. So I think that could be also a message maybe by the ASR to other ministries to make sure it's not that many sector working groups, that you really sitting in this and us in the others where the water is related, if I may say so. Having said that, if you allow, can we open another round of comments to do? Yes, who, I don't know who is it from the Zoom. Is it UNSC or who is it? It's Tamara. Tamara, please. And then back to here to the offline meeting. Please try to be short with your feedback and questions. Thank you.
Good morning, dear colleagues. I was requested.
I cannot hear you. Do we need to take the?
Good morning. Good morning, colleagues. Can you hear me now?
It's getting better.
What about now? But I also wrote the questions to the chat. Can you hear me?
A little bit, but not enough clear. I take the floor back here, and maybe the techniques can work on that. Also adding to, yes, please. You need a microphone because Zoom cannot hear you. Can
So my name is Khairi Al-Jamal from the World Bank. I'm water supply and sanitation specialist. First, thank you very much for this comprehensive presentation from both water resources and water supply and sanitation, which is very interesting and putting all challenges, which is enormous, but it is doable. So don't be frightened. One thing is the paradigm shift in terms of doing business. I think that since we have all of these challenges, we have about $10 billion maybe to be invested in water supply and sanitation, maybe double this number in irrigation, which is a huge number. And the question is that we need to be prepared to change the paradigm in terms of the implementation, because absorption capacity will be a real challenge to achieve these targets in 10 years or whatever years you are putting. I think this is just one thing for you to consider. The second point is what I see missing in the sector is to push strongly the two functions, which are accountability and incentives. And I don't see a lot of incentives around many of key indicators to be achieved from the subterminals, regional subterminals. Why should we reduce the non-revenue water? Why should we have improved the energy efficiency if most of the cost is passed through to the either regional or central government? So we should think of how to incentivize these subterminals to take serious measures. The third is whatever we do among the IFIs, we will still have a huge gap in terms of financing. So private sector is a key to bridge this financing. And I would recommend that we take or handle this seriously to enable the environment and also to build the capacity of the subterminal as well as the ministry in making sure that we have the right setting in terms of public-private partnership and contracts, because this can be tricky and this can fire back. And I have been a client and I have been an author or designer for these agreements. So I can see both sides. The other thing in energy efficiency, definitely from what I saw elsewhere in many countries, that energy efficiency in most cases can pay back. And we have good examples at Voynich water treatment plant where we adjusted for energy efficiency and cutting the energy, save 50% of the energy with only $20,000, which pays back in less than a month and a half. So a few months to a few years is the payback for energy efficiency, but we need to be able to how to market this and attract private sector in a fair environment in terms of legal system, which is very important. One last point, I heard the word strategy for 5 years. I don't take strategy for 5 years. I mean, strategy means long term. So let's talk about action plan versus a strategy on the water sector. And definitely the integrated water resource management or the integrated water management is the key. The 4.5% for water supply for drinking is not a huge. So any saving in the 90% from irrigation will mean about doubling the quantity or maybe 50% increase in the water supply, which is very important with all measures for improvement, lining the canals, increasing the productivity, less water for certain crop season. All of these actions or activities or intervention can safely lead to save enough water for people to drink maybe for the coming 50 years. So it is not a question of water security. I would take it as a question of water management rather than water security. And last, all of the interventions which Rostam has mentioned, they are all legitimate in terms of improving, but I would put some emphasis on the institutional part, the organization, is how to make sure that these utilities are functional, because that is a key. And I was happy to hear about the circular economy and reuse of treated effluent. So whatever we budget for the water supply, maybe 50% or 70% of it will go back maybe for agriculture. And for these shallow brackish water increase, I wouldn't call it as a loss to the water resources, because if we reclaim brackish water, and even if we apply brackish water desalination, that is not enormous cost. So make sure that it is in your accounting as good water resources, which can be polished with a minor intervention. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Khairi, for your also inspiration and well taken up. I will give, of course, then the floor to the two chairs. Another comment? Yes, please, KFW.
Oh, no, thank you. Dear chairs, thank you for the presentation. We are currently here on a mission from KFW from Frankfurt, so we are extremely lucky to be here in person today. And we've seen some excellent proposals today. I think one of them was on actually having an Excel file or platform on who's doing what. This would be so helpful to us. I would just like to be very concrete. Who is doing this now and when can it be done? Just to have a very specific next step, because I think this would be absolutely crucial. So if ADB or the Swiss side would be taking that on, that would be highly appreciated. The same for the technical subgroups. I think these issues are extremely relevant. We've heard them also many times already in the preparation of our project. So we would be pleased to be involved in such groups, in the technical subgroups. So the question here also, what groups should there be? And we will be ready to participate. We can take on some issues. So thank you. And we hope to define some very practical next steps. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Maybe I was not clear enough. That's exactly the idea also of this round. And I have also carefully listened, of course, to you, Khairi. So this idea it was already in the air that to have a discussion on the PPP, on the cost effectiveness, on how we can turn all these challenges also in potential benefits. I think I would even designate you ad hoc for the technical working group lead on the PPP. Same with EBRD. I mean, I can be much more concrete. Are you ready? Then, of course, we will put up the structure so that you can call for these groups. So that's exactly the idea, to define today. It's not for forever, but to define today the kind of groups we would need for. I will give you later the floor. I have still the Zoom, but that we think about what technical issues we need to tackle as a group. And it doesn't need to be a formal group. I mean, you know each other. We have this list of participants. And also, Sokir, please make sure that in the minutes we have this list and you add your focal points. Please avoid to have a proliferation of people, which we cannot cover with all in the agency. You should coordinate yourself, right? But the focal point per agency would be great. And then everybody has this list of partners, and then feel free and do that to, even without this calling now a working group, to engage in discussions amongst the technical staff and us, so that we don't overload the ministries with all of us partially from the same agency going to these departments and asking for this kind of clarification. A last word, Tamara, can we now try if you can hear us? We can hear you, sorry.
Can you hear me, colleagues? No. Я написала вопросы в чат. Посмотрите чат, пожалуйста.
We have been asked.
Is it there? This is great. Thank you, Tamara. I have it also the question on my Telegram. It's a clear plea also to Yusuf Taminot Rustam to relate to what UNSC has voiced. And the other, I think, also Kairis from World Bank feedback on the PPPs and tariffs. Maybe you can react to that. And then, is there any additional remark, Caroline? I will, if you agree, still take Caroline from GIZ, and then we come to the responses and to a close, if you agree. Caroline Miller.
Thank you very much. I would just like to underline again how important the basin principle is, and very kindly urge the ministry to look quicker into this issue, in particular also in view of the regional water cooperation in Central Asia. As you rightly mentioned, this is a regional system. Only 20% of the water are generated within the boundaries of Uzbekistan. And the regional water cooperation can only work if all the countries are on the basin principle, because then we can actually look at the Amudaya, at the Surdaya basin, in the future at the Aral Sea basin. And I think this is a long-term benefit for all the countries, and we should take this into consideration with everything that we are doing here, because this has an impact at least on the country that is one further down, Turkmenistan, when we look at the Amudaya, for example. So this basin principle is really, really very important, and I'm very kindly urging to look into this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caroline. According to our understanding, this is the base of the IWRM, when we have a real, and Kairi, I noted what you said. You said we should talk about integrated water management, which includes resources at all levels, right? So I think this is the topic. And with this, I like to hand over for responding to maybe this time first to you, Rustam, on the question of UNSC, and then to you, Asim. Do you have the questions or?
Я, хотел поднять то, что поднимается вопрос о том, что стандарты, которые утверждены в Республике Узбекистан по выбросам воды после очистки канализационных стоков, да, они высокие, чем, скажем, даже взять, если просто европейский стандарт, они высокие примерно на 3 раза. Это не 30% или 3%, это на 3 раза, это примерно 300%. Мы это понимаем, но эти стандарты на сегодняшний день мы ведем переговоры с Министерством экологии о том, что пересмотреть данные стандарты. Потому что мы понимаем, когда мы понимаем вопрос о том, и мы, когда мы готовим нашу тендерную документацию и по новым нашим строительствам, то, что для того, чтобы достигнуть того результата, который на сегодняшний день перед нами поставил Министерство экологии, скажем, она не то что трудоемкая, она очень дорогая, реально дорогая. И поэтому мы с нашей стороны уже подготовили таблицу, которая говорит о том, что насколько нам это будет дорого обойдется нам для того, чтобы достичь этих результатов. Я вам, к примеру, приведу, если честно сказать, канализационные очистные сооружения, они очень дорогие. И взять водоочистные сооружения и канализационные очистные сооружения, и те расходы, которые на это несет, они намного превышают просто очистку воды, скажем. И один из этих примеров скажу, например, на сегодняшний день средняя стоимость очистки куб воды, она обходится примерно $1000. Вот если посмотреть по стоимости, скажем, если мы хотим примерно построить, скажем, 30-тысячный, скажем, или 100-тысячный, или 5000-тысячный, насколько она будет меньше, настолько она будет дороже. Поэтому для того, чтобы сейчас достичь тех результатов, которые на сегодняшний день мы хотим достичь, для того, чтобы как-то наших расходов, мы думаем о том, что эти стандарты мы должны пересмотреть. И это необходимо. И поэтому мы сейчас ведем диалог. Один из примеров, то, что сейчас 10 часов, если у нас началось совещание здесь, 10 часов наш председатель правления находился, скажем, в Министерстве экологии, как раз обсуждал данный вопрос. Потому что мы этот вопрос подняли на уровне правительства, и мы сегодняшний день уже представили наше объяснение, почему нам нужно это изменить. Это раз. Насчет того, что вопросы, скажем, о том, что Узбекистан протокол, да, конечно, по второму вашему вопросу, конечно, мы бы хотели тоже участвовать, скажем, ЮНИСИ по данному вопросу, и мы готовы участвовать по данному вопросу. Насчет вопроса по ГЧП господина Хайра Аль-Джамара. Мы тоже изучили данный вопрос насчет того, чтобы ГЧП он должен быть. Да, но вы поймите одну вещь. Если изучить, мы недавно были в Германии, мы изучили там тоже, как вообще Германия работает насчет того, что как там идет водочистка, канализационное очистное сооружение, и как она работает. И там есть сообщество. И если честно сказать, в основном это все делает государство. Оно не отдало частному партнеру. Государство решило то, что это оно должно делать для того, потому что вы поймите одну вещь. У нас тарифы социальные. Если взять только город Ташкент, куб воды на сегодняшний день обходится всего лишь 400 сомов. Вы можете представить себе, 400 сомов – это 1000 литров воды. И тарифы из-за того, что они социальные, наше государство ежегодно из бюджета выделяет на это деньги. Один из примеров. Только в этом году государство из бюджета выделило $300 миллионов для того, чтобы мы дополнительно, у нас есть проблемные места, которые мы должны дать воду людям быстрее, и мы это предоставляем. В том году дали 280 миллионов. Для того, один из примеров еще только по Кашкадарье, для того, чтобы дать воду, в 12 районам, мы из Тупаланга сейчас делаем, проект на $320 миллионов. 100% финансируется за счет средств государственного бюджета. Насчет ГЧП. Поэтому мы сделали один проект по ГЧП с участием Азиатского банкового развития. Скажу честно, давайте будем честны, для того, чтобы провести этот тендер, у нас ушло 2 года. До этого год у нас ушел для того, чтобы просто подготовить с АБР, тендерную документацию. 3 года. Больше года мы не можем закрыть финансовую часть. 4 года мы уже потеряли. Вода нужна нам сегодня. Очистка нам нужна сегодня. И насчет того, чтобы в канализационных очистных сооружениях использовать то, что мы перерабатываем, очищаем, мы уже начали. Один из примеров со Всемирным банком. То, что мы сейчас в Нукусе будем строить, мы перевели это канализационное очистное сооружение возле города, значит, на 17 километров ближе, где сохранили экономию примерно 18-20 миллионов долларов. И та вода, которая будет очищена, в день примерно 50 тысяч кубов воды, она будет возвращаться к городу для того, чтобы была поливная система города Нукуса, она работала. Один из примеров. Мы работаем с ЕБРР. Тоже такая пример, 60 тысяч кубов. Сейчас мы то, что будем делать в Ургенче, вода будет возвращаться в город Ургенч на полив, скажем, на орошение города. Потому что мы знаем, в Каракалпаке и Хорезме мы реально чувствуем недостаток воды. Там не только недостаток воды даже на орошение, там даже питьевая вода проблема. И поэтому та питьевая вода, которая сейчас будет очищена, она будет возвращаться в город, она будет работать на полив. Спасибо.
Thank you very much, Rustam. If I can just come back to our work plan, we have really identified the financial, operational sustainability and tariff reforms as a key topic. Kairi, you have mentioned it and you have responded. So if I can just bring these 2 views together, we know it's very sensitive. World Bank has mentioned it. But it's about incentives to save water. And so we think that's again something which cannot be technically discussed here, but I used the time also to ask a colleague from World Bank if you would be ready to call for such a discussion on tariff reforms, and we will make sure that those who are interested could join.
Если эти решения, я бы хотел бы насчет тарифа, да, мы говорим, это самый сенситивный вопрос. И мы знаем то, что из-за того, что вода 400 сумм за 1000 литров, мы знаем то, что люди и моют свои машины, и сады, и огороды, поливают, и это useless идет. Но, и мы сегодня хотели бы поднять, самый один большой вопрос, это public awareness. Для того, чтобы мы же готовим, мы разговариваем с нашими донорами, и с другими, и этот вопрос я поднял сегодня, начинать с детского сада, со школ, обучать наших детей для того, чтобы они берегли просто воду. Чтобы они домой приходили и говорили родителям своим, вот даже когда они моют свои, скажем, зубы, сказать, просто выключи воду за эти 2 минуты или 3 минуты, когда ты будешь, и когда тебе это нужно будет, только включи. Потому что мы знаем, мы используем воду, беспринципно, и не обдумывая даже, примерно, если взять, в Германии, то, что мы примерно изучили, что минимальная, минута душа это от 3 и максимально до 8 минут, например, да, но извините, у нас только начинается от 15 минут до полчаса, это минимум. Спасибо.
Thank you very much.
Rustam Jonaka has addressed most of the questions. Just a couple of remarks that I would like to mention regarding the basin principle, Caroline, and I think, maybe in this regard, we'd like to have maybe separate meeting where we discuss the, more in detail, take more time, so we can openly show our current situation, what we are doing, but at the same time, maybe to get the feedback from our colleagues why the basin principle is important, and to be, simply help us to help to be in the driving seat and see our situation, and then tell us which way or which steps we need to take regarding the basin principles. Regarding the suggestion on this strategy word, maybe don't take it as your view. I agree that the current document we have, the concept is more or less strategy for 10 years. But this 3-year strategy document, maybe it's an action plan for next 3 years. But since it's already endorsed in the official documents such way, so we keep calling it strategy. But regarding the PPP, we need to learn more. We have some experience already, and some bad, some not good. So I think we need to build our capacity first. As you mentioned, that capacity of the agencies. At the same time, the incentive for the private sector to come and invest in the water sector, especially in irrigation sector. We don't see much incentive from the private sector. However, we are looking for financial models. We've been in communication with Mr. Azad from the World Bank and others to, if there are some financial models that will be interesting for private sector to come at the same time to meet the requirements of this PPP principles, we're ready to collaborate. Well, this is my 5 cents.
Thank you very much.
Before going to conclusion, we didn't get much feedback on the work plan. Maybe we should still keep 5 minutes if there are some, because our annual work program.
I make a suggestion. I mean, this round was open now, 45 minutes for anybody to give a feedback for the work plan. I see it spontaneously as a good signal that there was not much feedback on that, on a broad agreement. However, I just wanted to suggest that you give, and we can set a deadline, I don't know, maybe the next 2 weeks, if you have additional ideas that we would like to ask you, we will do the minutes to give these ideas back to the Secretariat, IRC, and please provide these ideas in a structured way, not in track changes, but really that you just say you have a comment on the key performance indicators, a suggestion, so that we can take it up. With regards to the all these technical working groups that, I mean, let's say technical dialogues, we would suggest we can also try to fit that in as subparts in this work plan, right? I have, but there might be others. And again, no need to all formalize. It can be 1 meeting, 2 meetings, but just to make sure. So I have noted from World Bank that you would call for such an exchange and dialogue on energy efficiencies and tariffs, and including the PPP question. I have noted that EBRD would call for this discussion on the sewage systems. I have noted that, who was else? UNECE, exactly. UNECE has already quite an established work plan they can share with us. So that's it for the time being. On the gender, without asking our team leader, Omina, in the National Water Resources Management, I would designate Omina, because you are the gender advocate here in the ministry, I would say, and you have already very first good results. We have done a gender assessment in the water sector, and we are really working on bringing in, as you said, Minister, more women. This is but only the water resources management, so not yet in the drinking water, but that could also be a focal point. With regards, I'm still now trying to translate from this rich discussion on doables in this structure. So this was this technical dialogues. And please do not hesitate, give to SOCIR, AIRC, additional ideas, or just call the colleagues in the updated list. Another issue, as I said, I'd like to repeat, is the updated list of focal points. We will also share with you. And another point is the 2 presentations done by Ministry of Water Resources and Usuf Daminot. We will have your really good presentations, and there this is something we can a bit discuss, but I think this is the good moment. Is it an action plan, a concept, or a strategy? I think the terminology is not that important, but of course we understand it needs to have a long-term vision, but still I think these 2 concepts or strategy is the good moment to also think on how we can deal with these questions. So that's from an integrated water management point of view. And then an additional point I heard out of this discussion, and this goes a bit back to the Agency for Strategic Reforms, is the crop, the agriculture. I mean, all this is about 96%, 92% used by irrigation, and all these problems I will not repeat, but definitely there, I think there's a bit back the ball to the ministries. You need to talk about that interministerial. Last good news is that I have the agreement with my people here that we would, in the National Water Resources Management Project and with ARC, work on an overview, this Excel sheet or however it looks like on the project in the water resources management. And I understand from you, Don, your ADB would continue to work with Usuf Daminot for the same in the drinking water and sanitation system, so that we have at all the levels I mentioned at the beginning some good doables and feasible things. So with this, I would like to hand over. Thank you so much for your, from my side, for your constructive discussions and curiosity and collaborative spirit. Thank you very much. Very short, very short. Sorry? One point I want to flag is they don't come without money. So be aware of how to link them. I have seen, I mean, from my previous experience, I have seen many people rush to putting wishful list of KPIs, and they forget that this comes with money. So we don't want this mission to be a mission of impossible. We're shooting to the ministry, and Osaftaminot will start because you don't meet these KPI, which cannot be achieved without a prerequisite, which is financing. So be careful about that. Yeah, but that's, Kairi, we need to, maybe we can do this discussion in a smaller circle. My view is that this is a coordination working group and not a technical working group on what money need to be attracted for what investments. This you really need to do in another dimension. We cannot, with 3 meetings, have KPIs at this financial technical level. I understand, Don, you want to say something. Yes.
Just a supplement. Maybe we, the minister already and deputy chairman, they have highlighted what is being done in their relevant sectors, and maybe to bring everybody to the same understanding and around the table. Maybe we first carefully study, because this is an enormous load of information that we have to digest, so we know where the sectors are heading and what their ambitions are. And so we know, because $2.1 billion of portfolio just in water supply sector for a country the size of Uzbekistan is not small amount. It's a huge amount. And I'm sure there are very soft non-physical components going on in those projects. And I have personally tried to come up with the matrix. So we would continue, as I understand, we would continue that exercise. We would try to share that matrix of projects and grants that have been provided and that are ongoing by our partners. That's one. And two is, just to supplement Mr. Hyrie, about the absorption capacity, because this is enormous work and that needs to be managed properly by the other side. I mean from the ministry and the Sultanate side. So we need to have the group of people who we interact with. So that initiative needs to go on within the government. Otherwise, it may kind of stay within the development partners. We met with the French colleagues, for instance, particularly about the effluent standards that are too high and may, create. And I'm very pleased to hear that the chairman now is discussing this with the Minister of Natural Resources. So these kind of things. So maybe we just look into you call it strategy, but in the case of JSC, they prefer to call it transformation plan. So we carefully study and then tailor our engagement towards that. Then I think we have the same understanding, so for the sake of efficient use of resources that we have.
Thank you. In this regard, just can we agree on the timeline to get feedbacks? 2 weeks is good enough time for everyone. So our secretariat, Zokir's team will be collecting, and also then we can discuss and share with everyone over email. So of course, we also communicate with the agency. Thank you. And we have now representative of the agency also, Bakhtiyor, a couple words.
Assalomu alaykum, hurmatli bugungi tadbir qatnashchilari. Taklif uchun men vakil xonimga, Rustam Amajonovga, vazir o'rinbosari Azimjon aka Nazarovga minnatdorchilik bildiraman. Albatta, strategik islohotlar agentligi vazirlik va idoralar orasidagi islohotlarni olib borilishini bevosita muvofiqlashtirib boradigan yaqinda prezidentimizning tashabbuslari bilan tashkil etilgan bir tuzilma. Bugungi suhbatda men bir shunaqa xulosaga keldimki, hech bir muammoni alohida ko'rish yechimga olib kelmaydi. Bugungi suv xo'jaligi tarmog'ini isloh qilishdagi muammolarni energetika sohasidagi islohotlarsiz, ya'ni energiya tejamkor iqtisodiyotga o'tish jarayonida amalga oshirilayotgan islohotlarsiz yoki qishloq xo'jaligi sohasida bevosita amalga oshirilayotgan islohotlarsiz alohida ko'rish bu noto'g'ri. Buni bir kompleks muammo sifatida ko'rish kerak, chunki sug'orish tizimi, suv bilan ta'minlash tizimi menimcha O'zbekiston uchun kelgusi 10 yilda xavf emas, balki tahdidga aylanib bormoqda. Kundan kunga bu global isish, iqlim o'zgarishi, cho'llashish kabi muammolar albatta O'zbekistonning iqtisodiyotini kelgusi 10 yillikda ro'para keladigan eng katta jiddiy xavf xatar muammolardan biri bo'ladi. Misol uchun qishloq xo'jaligidagi islohotlar, xususan kam suv iste'mol qiluvchi urug'larni seleksiya sohasida bir islohot qilmasdan turib, faqat suv tejash bilangina bir natijaga erishish ham juda ham qiyin narsa. Yoki mana Rustam aka Mamajonov aytib o'tdi, xalqimizda suvni tejashga bo'lgan bir madaniyatni shakllantirmasdan turib suvni tejashni haqida gapirish ham juda bir qiziq narsa. Shuning uchun biz agentlik sifatida o'zim uchun xulosa qilganimiz, bevosita bu muammoni faqat bu ramkada emas, aytganimdek o'sha energetika vazirlik bilan birgalikda loyihalarni ko'rib chiqish yoki ayrim sohalarda qishloq xo'jaligi vazirligi, balki o'sha iqtisodiyot va moliya vazirligi bilan bog'liq muammolar bor. Mana tarif siyosati bevosita iqtisodiyot va moliya vazirligi, bevosita davlat rahbari darajasida bu ko'riladigan, hal qilinadigan muammolar. Menimcha shu idoralar orasidagi koordinatsiyani bevosita bizning agentlik yuritadi. Shuning uchun bu yerdagi muammolarni deyarli mana bir yaqin 4-5 ta xalqaro tashkilotlar tomonidan, elchixonalar tomonidan ham ko'tarilgan masalani men o'zimga yozib oldim bevosita. Chunki o'ta muhimmi? Ha, muhim. Lekin men shu bilan birga men sohani bir kelajagini sifatida ko'ramanki, birinchi navbatda bu raqamlashtirish, texnologiya, bilim, ta'lim, ochiqlik, shaffoflik va albatta mana Jahon bankidan kelgan vakilimiz ta'kidlab o'tdilar, davlat xususiy sherikchiligini rivojlantirish. Hali bu davlat xususiy sherikchilikni rivojlantirish biz uchun yangi. Bu masalani agentlik ham bevosita muvofiqlashtirish bormoqda. Ayniqsa mana ta'lim sohasida bir qator natijalarga erishildi. Energetika sohasida mana shamol energetikasi yoki quyosh energetikasidan foydalanish borasida davlat xususiy sheriklik loyihalari faol rivojlanishni boshladi. Men o'ylaymanki, bevosita sug'orish tizimida ham va suv yetkazib berish, suv bilan ta'minlash tizimida o'rganib chiqadigan, ko'rib chiqadigan, xalqaro tajribani ko'rib chiqadigan, o'zimizning ichki imkoniyatlarimizni ko'rib chiqadigan ko'p masalalar bor. Biz ham bu jarayonga agentlik sifatida faol qo'shilishga, birgalikda bu ikki idora bilan birgalikda xalqaro tashkilotlar bilan ham o'sha mamlakatlar platformasi, stranoy platforma orqali birgalikda bir ishlashga, muhokama qilishga tayyormiz. Men hammaga bugungi muhokama uchun berilgan takliflar uchun, ko'tarilgan muammolar uchun kelgan mehmonlarimizga yana bir marta rahmat aytaman. Rahmat hammalarga.
Rahmat katta. Aka, men o'ylaymanki, siz asosiy mana yakuniy qismini qilib berdingiz. Sabab bugungi yig'ilishimizda yuqorida aytib o'tganimizdek, o'sha yanvar oyida bo'lgan yig'ilishdan kelib chiqib shu suv xo'jaligi yo'nalishidagi ishchi guruh tashkil qilishdi. Shuning uchun mana shu ishchi guruhni birinchi yig'ilishida muhokama qildik. Yuqorida ko'tarilgan masalalar bo'yicha siz agentlikdan ham fikrlarni mana yig'ilish tugagandan keyin biz ma'lumot yuboramiz, o'sha savollarni ham ko'taramiz. Bugungi agentlik tomonidan javob berilishi kerak savollar, o'sha savollarga javoblar kutib qolamiz. Well, dear colleagues, Somjon aka, closing remarks, please.
Спасибо большое за сегодняшнее проведенное наше мероприятие. Я хотел сказать еще огромное спасибо за наше Азмьон за то, что он организовал все это с миссией Рахель. И то, что сегодня очень много доноров, они решили лично присутствовать в этой, скажем, встрече. Но я бы хотел попросить вас об одном тоже. Уважаемые господа, вы являетесь донорами, которые вы нам во всем помогаете. Если я не ошибаюсь, мы в САБР вместе еще в 2022 году провели 2 донорских митинга о том, что мы хотели собрать, о том, что нужно делать для Усута Миноту. Мы понимаем, мы в чем-то даже понимаем, в том, что да, есть очень много вещей, которые должны сделать Усута Минот для того, чтобы достичь каких-то результатов. И они очень огромные. Мы стоим еще, если взять примерно 100% охват, мы начинаем только с 1%. И та работа, которая у нас начинается, она только начинается. Но мы хотели попросить вас о том, что не просто, вы нам помогали, только советами, скажем, да, или просить у нас, как вообще у нас дела идут, мы бы хотели еще попросить у вас о том, что вы сможете нам сделать. Какую помощь вы можете сделать, а не просто сказать, прийти, вот я тебе посоветую, сделай это, сделай это. Или просто сказать, давай, господин Мамаджанов, у тебя в минуте вот такие-то проблемы. Для того, чтобы эту проблему решить, я могу тебе предоставить, скажем, хотя бы одного консультанта, который может приехать здесь, в Узбекистане, сесть с тобой, начать эти вопросы, обсудить с тобой, сделать для тебя какой-то экшн-план, который можно реализовать с тобой вместе. Сидя со стороны смотреть, давать советы или сесть со мной вместе, помочь мне для того, чтобы достичь этих результатов, было бы намного лучше. Поэтому я бы хотел попросить ваш донор, у вас у всех есть очень большая армия людей, консультантов, которые они могут, скажем, как корифеи в этой работе, и которые могут прийти и помочь в этом. Потому что мы говорим capacity building, мы выделяем очень много денег для этого. Но прийти, написать мне, скажем, 2 тома, скажем, по 500 листов, скажем, какой-то акт, сказать, читай, или просто прийти, сесть со мной, отработать этот акт вместе и имплементировать его, это 2 разные вещи. Спасибо большое.
Katta rahmat Rustamjon aka, mana yig'ilishning oxirida o'sha ichimizdagi dardli so'zlar ham chiqyapti. Men o'ylaymanki, bu jarayonni davom ettirishimiz kerak. Ya'ni yarim so'zdan bir-birimizni tushunishimiz uchun fursatdan foydalanib, hozir yig'ilishimiz tugagach bilan mana hovlimizda coffee break tashkil qilingan. Hammalaringizni mana shu coffee breakka taklif qilamiz. Va agar vaqtlaringiz bo'lsa, shu coffee break davomida ham muhokamani davom ettirishimiz mumkin. Mana Rustamjon akaning ishidagilar yorildi, mani hali yorilaman deb turibdi. Rakel xonim ham yorilaman deb turibdi va so'zim oxirida agar hammalaringizni avvalambor Rakel xonimni va Rakel xonim komandasiga minnatdorchilik bildirib qo'llab-quvvatlashni so'rayman. Sababi bugungi yig'ilishimiz mana shunaqa mazmunli o'tishida birinchi navbatda, ikkinchi navbatda mana shu sharoitlar yaratilishida birinchi kundan boshlab viloyatda yurishimizdan qat'iy nazar Rakel xonim bu ishni qilishimiz kerak, bu nima bo'ldi deb tergab ham turdilar. To'g'risi bundan biz o'rganishimiz kerak va shunaqa hamkorimiz va do'stimiz borligidan faxrlanamiz. Sizga Rakel xonim, komandaga katta rahmat tilaymiz. Marhamat, hammani coffee breakga taklif qilamiz.